What if you could vanish on a quiet road in freezing cold in front of witnesses? No screams, no struggle, no confirmed sightings, just a damaged car and a young woman who disappeared without a trace. On February 9th, 2004, Maura Murray, a 21-year-old nursing student, vanished on a dark stretch of road in rural New Hampshire. Police arrived within minutes, neighbours were nearby, cars passed through the area, and yet Maura Murray was gone. No body has ever been found, no arrest has ever been made. And nearly 20 years later, the mystery continues to haunt investigators, journalists, and her family. Tonight, this is the complete, factual, and deeply human story of Maura Murray. And before we go any further, subscribe so you don't miss what others overlook. Maura Murray was born on May 4, 1982 in Hampshire, Massachusetts. She was not reckless. She was not directionless. She was known as disciplined, competitive, and driven. Maura excelled in athletics, especially long-distance running. She attended West Point, one of the most demanding institutions in the United States. But West Point came with pressure. After a shoplifting incident involving makeup, something Maura later admitted and deeply regretted, she left the academy. This moment is important because it marks the first time Maura experienced failure and the shame that followed it. She later transferred to UMass Amherst, pursuing nursing. On the surface, Maura's life appeared normal, but beneath it, stress was building. And by early 2004, Maura was juggling a demanding nursing program, a part-time security job, family expectations, her own internal pressure to succeed. On February 5th, Maura had an emotional breakdown while working security. She was found crying, catatonic, and unable to speak. No clear explanation was ever given. Just 3 days later, she crashed her father's car. This accident was minor but emotionally devastating. Maura reportedly told her father, "I'm sorry, Dad," that sentence would echo painfully in hindsight. On February 9th, Maura emailed her professors and employer. She claimed there had been a family emergency. She said she would be gone for a week. There was no family emergency. This was not a lie for attention. It was a planned disappearance, temporary or otherwise. The question is, was Maura running from something or running towards something? The evening of February 9th, 2004 was cold, well below freezing, with snow drifting across the winding curves of Route 112, a lonely road in Woodsville, New Hampshire. At approximately 7:27 p.m., a car veered off the road. It was a silver Saturn belonging to Maura Murray. The vehicle had collided with a snowbank on the side of the road. Airbags deployed, lights still flickering in the dim winter dusk. It was a scene that would become the last confirmed location where anyone saw Maura. The first person on the scene was Butch Atwood, a local bus driver who often drove that stretch of Route 112. He noticed the car's hazard lights flashing. He pulled over cautiously. Approaching the vehicle, he saw Maura inside, visibly shaken but alert. She told me she'd handled it and asked me not to call the police. She seemed scared but not hurt badly. She didn't want any help. Why would a young woman stranded in freezing cold turn away help? Route 112 is remote, with thick woods on either side. Temperatures hovered around 10 to 15 Fahrenheit, snow-muffled sound, creating an eerie silence that blanketed the road. And the isolation meant any movement away from the vehicle would leave footprints in snow, but none were conclusively found. Passing cars were few, but a handful of neighbors would later report seeing the car from a distance. It's almost as if the winter itself swallowed her. She exited the vehicle briefly, possibly to assess the damage. She retrieved a phone but did not call emergency services, and she refused the witness offer of help. And here we confront one of the most perplexing facts in this case. Maura had multiple chances to get help, yet she chose to walk away. Why? Fear, panic, a premeditated decision? No one can say for certain. Minutes later, police arrived at the scene. The timeline is crucial. Atwood had stopped around 7:30 p.m. Police were on scene within 7 to 10 minutes. By the time officers reached the car, Maura Murray had vanished. The snow showed no clear footprints leading from the road into the woods. Dog teams later confirmed her scent trail began and ended in the middle of the road, as if she had been picked up by someone or vanished into thin air. This was not a simple disappearance. It was something far stranger, almost cinematic in its impossibility. Police documented the scene meticulously: vehicle keys in the ignition, person wallet missing, phone inside the car, alcohol in the car. Maura had purchased it earlier that day. Nothing pointed conclusively to foul play. Nothing suggested suicide, yet everything suggested that she walked away into an unknown fate. The moment Maura Murray disappeared, the landscape itself became part of the mystery. Route 112 was remote, dense woods on either side, uneven terrain, icy slopes, and drifting snow. It was the kind of road where a person could vanish completely, leaving only the faintest traces. And the first calls to authorities set into motion a massive search effort, one that would last days, then weeks, and continue in various forms for years. Local police coordinated with state police, search and rescue volunteers, neighboring town units, family, friends. Hundreds of people combed the nearby woods. They trudged through ice-covered branches, deep snow, and sub-zero temperatures. Some volunteers brought metal detectors, radios, and thermal cameras, while others relied on intuition, maps, and local knowledge of trails. The search was methodical but slow. Every footstep in the snow created new uncertainty. What was Maura's footprint and what was someone else's? Nearly 2 decades had passed since Maura Murray vanished. In those years, the case became a fixture in true crime circles. Online researchers, journalists, and amateur sleuths dissected every detail. Then, in the early 2020s, a new thread of information emerged, one that would rekindle public attention. A name surfaced repeatedly in independent discussions: Stetson Baldwin, sometimes referred to as Stephen Baldwin in certain reports. He was Baldwin. He was a resident of a nearby region in New England at the time of Maura's disappearance. Very little about him is officially documented in law enforcement records. Public discussions about him mostly originated from independent researchers, not police. It is crucial to note Baldwin has never been charged, and law enforcement has not named him a suspect. What we are about to discuss are unverified leads and theories, presented for context, not accusation. The information came in multiple forms: private communications reviewed by researchers, public interviews with individuals claiming knowledge of the case, cross-referencing of old tips and sightings previously overlooked. Investigators, journalists, and researchers compared decades-old records and noticed patterns, connections in the vicinity, reports of vehicles, and timing overlaps that seemed worth re-examining. And for many, this wasn't proof. And it was a thread, a clue that suggested there were still unanswered questions. After 20 years, investigators re-examined latent fingerprints that had been collected from inside Maura Murray's abandoned '96 Saturn sedan. The car left at the crash site where she disappeared on February 9th, 2004. In late 2020s, one of these fingerprints was matched through the FBI's automated fingerprint identification system to Stephen Baldwin, a former West Point cadet who attended the academy at the same time as Maura. That match was not immediate when the vehicle was found. In 2004, it only occurred after Baldwin. Fingerprints were entered into the national database following his arrest in Ohio for unrelated criminal charges in 2020. Baldwin was sentenced to 15.5 years in prison for multiple felony convictions in Ohio, including animal cruelty, fraud, bribery, theft, and related charges. He was convicted following a bench trial that began in January 2004 and sentenced in March 2005. Nearly 20 years have passed, and Maura Murray's disappearance remains a mystery. Her story is unfinished, and the search for answers continues. Maura Murray did not disappear from memory. She disappeared from a road somewhere between fear and hope, between night and silence. Her story paused. And until the truth is known, until evidence replaces speculation, the mystery remains. Subscribe for thrilling real-life stories you won't find anywhere else. Thanks.